thing with those landscape shots is, well, they should mean something more. They should be more integrated with the storytelling. They were just treated the way every epic fantasy film landscape shot is treated, where you just get way too short of a shot. Less of those and more time spent on the ones that really fucking add to the story.
Yes.
And save them for when it is making a story gesture. Yes.
So I love the landscape shots in this. I agree there should be fewer of them and they should be longer. That's something that, like, I don't know, movie makers used to do really well. Like,
oh, like what?
I'm thinking of, oh God, Red Desert does that really well.
Okay,
Who's that by? Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked often about it and haven't watched it yet together.
Antonioni, I think. But yeah, so landscapes are really important for especially a story like this, which is so much about a strange different culture and the mythologies of it, and so like to understand what's happening plot-wise, like the landscape has to be deeply felt. And yeah, we get a lot of images of it and it's beautiful, but it would be cool if it was fewer for longer periods and you've like just got to like watch birds move for a while or like watch the water go.
Yeah. And the justification for what we saw and what we see in every fucking movie where they're just too short is, well, we've got a story. Like, we have all these story beats to get to.
Yeah,
there's no time for that.
So my response to that is that there's like so many moments in this film that just don't need to be in it.
Oh, there are?
Like, I hate the sports scene. Just take that out. That was stupid. And honestly embarrassing, and a bastardization of the entire point of the film. It's like...
It was glorifying man in the whole movie until it was making fun of men.
Yeah.
And that part.
And it's the very part that's like making fun of men that is like how the hero gets his like next foothold up.
Right.
Is like he has to make a joke of himself, which is... honestly, like, that makes me think of, like, in the Odyssey, the moment where Odysseus says to Polyphemus the Cyclops, like, I am no one, or nobody. It's like, if the hero disowns himself or his, like, greatest virtue or like, his quality, you're lost. And they lost the point of it. And the point of this movie is the moment when in the second chapter when this group of like Viking men is just all of them around a fire like roaring, and it's just like their bodies and they're so strong and they're like dressed as wolves and they're just like growling at each other.
They're doing a bear shape-shifting ritual.
Yeah.
They're turning into bears.
Yeah. And it's the coolest thing and the heart of the movie. And
what's the heart of the movie for you?
What's the heart of the movie, you think?
Well, I mostly agree with you, but it's not the heart of the movie to Robert Eggers. The heart of the movie to him, well, is just the historical deliciousness, but under that is the plot, like revenge.
Oh yeah.
Getting this guy from 0 to achieving his goal.
Yeah, this is such a weird thing about this story because, like, Amleth? It sounds so close to Hamlet. It's like so right there. There's so many aspects of the plot that are like Hamlet, but even Hamlet is like, the morality is pretty gray, but you can still kind of sort it out, and this is just, it's like he gets to the point where he could have his heroic moment, and it's like all of his belief structures are completely shattered.
Right.
And then the plot kind of like dissolves.
Well, it limps forward into until they get to the volcano scene.
Yeah.
The moral injunction is two-pronged with his rite of passage with his father when he becomes a man in the beginning of the movie. And the shaman is taking the king and the prince, sending them together through a rite of passage so that the prince can become a king. There's two different moral injunctions there, where the father commands him to avenge him. And when his father is struck down by his enemies, you must avenge me no matter what. But then there's another separate moral commandment where the shaman says, y'all are animals. Can you be men?
Oh, yeah.
You are nothing but animals.
Yeah.
Can you rise above that and become men?
Right.
So he chose one and not the other.
Right.
He did not ascend to manhood.
Yeah.
And that was what is invited into the plot when he's having his final moment with Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, exactly.
And he says, "Oh, this is the prophesied fork in the road.
Yeah.
I choose both paths."
And that part is so annoying.
And that is a moment where you can be really good at writing plots and actually integrate the conflict. And he does actually achieve both. That's Avatar: The Last Airbender.
True. Beautiful.
One of the greatest pieces of art known to man.
But like also...
But actually, we all know it.
Well, A Hero's Journey is really, really hard to make. And
that's not what Eggers was making.
evidently, yeah.
He was making a historical epic.
Yeah.
And yeah, we both,
Yeah, I think...
want a good hero's journey.
Love a good hero's journey. I think that's the interesting thing about taking a look at this culture is like, there's so many beautiful things that he does capture so well. The men around the fire turning into bears, so cool. And the magic of the women, like the scene with Bjork and Anya Taylor-Joy's magic in the forest, like after they make love, and like the even the way the curses happen, like it's really beautiful. And then it's also like the violence of the Vikings, like the next thing that happens after the scene around the fire is just like brutal, vicious
rape and pillage of a village.
Yeah, and like even...
And that's like completely integrated with their religion.
Yeah, and even like Anya Taylor-Joy's, what's her name? Oh, Olga of the Birch Forest, which is a great name. Even Olga's magic is sort of like evened out with like a more grotesque, maybe, image of the feminine, which is like Nicole Kidman just being insane and
corrupt.
Super Oedipal and really corrupt and just no sense of like this is the right thing. It's just what do I want? I'll seduce my way there.
Yes. Yeah. It's cool. The systems of belief are really great to watch throughout the movie. Olga has a completely alien system of belief to Amleth.
Yeah.
And
Earth's gods.
And that's beautiful to at least in the figure of those two actors
Yeah.
fucking, have those belief systems
Yeah,
come together.
totally.
And he uses his uncle Fjolnir's belief system against him.
Yeah.
He knows what they're going to translate as witchery and sorcery and anger of the
Right.
gods, and he creates those images for them,
Yeah.
and they don't even think to suspect that a man did this,
Yeah.
because it's so epic in scale, the grotesque things he does to them.
Totally. And yeah, Olga's curses are a really cool moment. The way the dogs all, yeah, it's, I'm realizing, the same thing could happen. And as a plot point, it's not really like particularly interesting, but it is just the way it's captured, and like walking through the city and watching everyone start to fight with their dogs and try to fight them off and seeing them become possessed.
Yeah.
Just the shadowy way that it's filmed is beautiful.
Yeah, that was a thing happening in the movie, was the night lighting.
Yeah.
It was super CG'd out,
Yeah.
but we just haven't seen that colorway of night shot
yeah.
before, so it worked.
So I love also the scene of like when they put all the slaves out to like defend the village on like a foggy night.
From the gods that they think are attacking them.
Yeah, and Olga of the Birch Forest brings her like stew or something that's laced with mushrooms maybe, and doses them all, and like the way that the psychedelics are expressed in the movie are like, I think, really good. Like I've never really seen, I think maybe Midsummer is the like best expression of psychedelics I'd seen before this, but this was really cool because it's like it's all like implied, and it's like they're not trying to.
You could see their you could see their ghosts and their superstitions blossoming into their vision.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to do anything except have actors act.
Yeah, and then the way that the fog surrounded them and created this like dreamscape, and like it was very direct, so you just got to witness it and like be in that experience with them. It was very like showing, not telling.
Yeah, totally.
That was really cool.
The rite of passage at the beginning, that was my favorite part.
Oh, you're burping and you're farting.
Love that burping, farting, old good time with Willem Dafoe.
Oh God.
Drinking psychedelics and making funny body sounds with your dad.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was incredibly beautiful and meaningful, and opening up his dad opening up his bandages to expose his war wound, and force his terrified psychedelically tripping child to put his hand inside the wound. It was so fucking good.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, I like just the depictions of religious and magical experiences. They did a really beautiful job with Bjork's costume, the way she comes to him, and the tear. Like, I loved that.
This tear contains the ocean you must cross.
Yeah. And just making it like an object, like a jewel like that, and making him hold it, like, there's just something so evocative about that.
Yeah, that was the magical realism. And then the thing we're both have stuck in our craw is the final conclusion of this movie, and those best parts with just straight up fantasy,
Yeah.
but it's so well in the fantasy is so well integrated into their actual sober experience.
Yeah.
Because as far as their
Right.
beliefs are concerned,
Yeah.
that is exactly what their perception is doing.
Yeah, that's
So they're just like showing you what their perception is. And so, I mean, we get that. So I crave some sort of that in the part I don't like of the movie. And we get his Valkyrie ride into Valhalla. And that was really beautiful. And like I physically felt beauty and ascendance watching that. But yeah, I don't feel changed in the way those like fantastic expressions of masculinity at the beginning of the movie seemed to be
suggesting, yeah.
seemed to be telling us we were going to watch a movie that actually
Yeah.
had something to say, had something to do.
Those scenes were really good. I think two men fighting at the gates of hell, it is like a really surprisingly beautiful scene. Like
It was.
the walk up to it, the ashes falling.
It was probably perfect.
Yeah,
Like the fight itself. I think that was probably a perfect fight choreography.
yeah, I don't know about that. I believe you. I'm just thinking like in terms of filming a scene like that with like, volcanic activity going on, like I think of like, I don't actually know if I've seen this movie, but like the film 300.
Yeah.
And then like Anakin losing his arm in Star Wars or whatever.
Of course. Impossible to not think of that.
Yeah.
With this scene.
And I don't remember like what it felt like when that movie first came out. Like maybe I was like, this is like the realist, but there's like a cheesiness there, and this didn't feel cheesy. It felt really visceral.
Yes. Yeah.
And like beautiful and appropriate, and they were just like so intense, and it's like,
they
they should be
naked.
surrounded by lava. They were. It was beautiful. And that was great. And
well, there was a believability issue that grew the further into the movie we went. The believability went down and down and down the further in we got. As soon as you have Nicole Kidman strike 2 blows with a sword across him, and then have this little kid stab him about 10 times in the back with a dagger, as soon as that happens and he's getting ready for his final fight, I'm like, something is not right with the plot here.
Like what are your point being just that
that's not real.
Yeah.
That's not real. Like everything else could happen. That could not happen.
Totally.
And with the way his arm was like practically severed by his uncle in the lava fight scene, and then he just like berserkers up and stands up again and kills his uncle for good. That's not believable to me. Like,
well, he's literally been stabbed like through the heart when he cuts his uncle's head off.
That happens at the moment, like together.
Okay.
But his arm is
like
done.
Half. Yeah.
It's done, and then he uses that arm to chop the guy's head off. That's not real.
Yeah.
Like, why did that have to happen? He can't just switch arms?
So, okay, Boromir.
No. No.
Why not? Tell us.
Because that was beautiful.
Was this not beautiful?
No, I wasn't fully on board. Like, with the Boromir scene, like, you could see that happen. Like, those are little arrows that could conceivably miss just the right pieces to give him one final burst. and it's morally integrated. He's saving himself.
Yeah.
Like, it's a completely
That's what it is for me.
aligned thing
Yeah.
that should happen.
For me, like, I guess so many moments of like the physical, like he's like.
Sorry, I'm not done.
Oh, go ahead.
So yeah, comparing that to Boromir, that's a completely morally aligned statement.
Yeah.
He is empowered by God.
Yeah.
To deliver those final blows,
that, yeah.
Despite the arrows in him.
Yeah.
Here, we're past the point of morals at this point in the movie.
Yeah.
Which means you've lost the audience, or like they're passingly interested to see what happens, but their spirit isn't invested anymore.
Sure.
It doesn't personally mean something to anybody's soul.
No one's gonna cry at this point.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so there's no strength of soul.
Yeah.
To get him to use his half-severed arm to cut off the guy's head.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think it's earlier on that I start to like really have to suspend disbelief with like the physical acts that are happening. He's like smashing his face into the other guy's face.
That was dumb too.
Yeah. But I think now we have to make our Green Knight comparison.
Okay.
So the ending of this film is
morally neutral.
But there are some things that happen throughout that suggest it might be kind of a hero's journey thing.
Mm-hmm. And by hero's journey, we mean a universal statement of alchemy, and how to be better, no matter what time you're in. Yeah. So there are features that this might be that.
Yeah. And the things that I thought were parallel to Green Knight, or like him following a little fox thing into a... Who even knows? He follows a little fox thing. And that's the suggestion that like he's close to nature and nature is going to reveal something to him now. But yeah, that doesn't...
It's saying that he's in the right path.
Yeah.
He's in the right place, he's in the right time.
And the world's like offering him more hints now.
Yes.
Yeah. But that doesn't end up feeling... like part of it feels more like his animalness and his wildness is what leads him straight to hell. The other thing that happens that reminds me of the Green Knight is when he goes into this tomb to get this magic sword. Mm-hmm. And he takes the sword, and the king that was holding it comes to life, and they have like this huge epic fight, and then it's like just a imagined fight, and he takes the sword and the guy just falls over.
It's a battle within.
Yeah. And as the fight was happening, I was thinking it would have been interesting, like that's more believable, and like that's probably where myths like that come from, is like you have to go into the scary tomb and like confront the possibility of like monster zombies, and like the fear of it is bigger than anything else, and confronting the fear of it is what most people can't do, and that's why like it is heroic to go get that sword, even though it's really just picking it up. So that's what that scene demonstrates, but it ultimately felt really cheesy to me compared to the rest of it.
Because you've seen that before?
I guess it just kind of felt like a gotcha kind of adolescent moment, rather than like a deeply resonant to the rest of the movie kind of moment.
Yeah, so the deep resonance, there's touches of that from the Green Knight in this movie too, where there's the further in it goes, the less grip you
Yeah.
have on the moment.
Yeah.
You start to get a little lost
Yeah.
the further in you go. And of course, that is a classic trope of a revenge flick, is you start to lose sight of what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Yeah.
So that could have been like a good way to draw the audience out and then land them really hard with something amazing. But the spiritual core of this thing wasn't so clear, maybe by being a few too many things at once. This historical drama,
Yeah.
this revenge tale, this love story,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
this prophecy of the gods coming into fruition,
Right.
where he's just carrying out the will of the gods.
The fact that it starts to turn into a love story, it seems kind of arbitrary, right? Like he just meets this girl, they happen to be on the slave ship together, now they're in love. But if it had ended differently, it wouldn't feel so arbitrary. If he had like let her save him, that would be cool. I also had this expectation of like they would return to that kingdom together. He would kill his uncle, and like I was imagining her sitting on the throne of that place.
Yeah, I think there's too many things being juggled, and so it's not unified because it's too complex. So the spiritual and emotional import isn't solidly flowing in one direction.
Yeah.
The potential cores of the movie were obvious in the form of the really visceral, shocking and brutal and beautiful ritual shit we saw.
Yeah.
I just think, this is my own ideology speaking, I think if you let one impurity into your alloy, then that is reflected out into every piece. I have that one piece of trivia about the movie. Before I went into the movie, I knew that he wanted the whole movie to be in dialect.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let him. And so it was in English.
Yeah.
And there were just passages that were actually in Norse languages or Northern languages. You get the sense that we're coming into contact with like at least 3 different cultures.
Yeah.
So I don't know what languages we're colliding with there. But he let other people tell him what his movie was. And that's fucked up.
It's actually...
And that's a road to hell.
Yeah.
Like the lighthouse.
I know.
Every single moment.
Yeah.
Every single fucking moment of that movie was completely indispensable.
Yeah.
And completely integrated with the whole.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking, as I was watching it, I was thinking like, he did the lighthouse and he did it so well, so beautiful, perfect square frame, like there's just a tightness to the whole thing.
Yes.
And this was sprawling, and yeah, there's like ways that it really works and is beautiful, and ways that there's a lot of excess, and I'm sure it's like this challenge that he wanted to take on to do this other kind of project that's so big and so complex. And
well, then it becomes even more important to not compromise on anything because the ship is just too big.
Yeah, but I'm sure that as soon as you get that many people on your team, it's like, Oh no, but like if you want to have Nicole Kidman, like sounds maybe Nicole Kidman loves the dialect. Anya Taylor-Joy, she didn't want to do the dialect.
Yeah, and so I was watching the movie, like, I knew that while I was watching it.
Yeah.
And so I was watching the choices be made with language and not language.
Totally.
And so I was deconstructing them and critiquing those jumps from one to the other.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, it would have been way better to do it like this and build the drama like that. And, well, you can't have the language, but you can have your desire to have the language and end up at the same place spiritually. For example, his oath to himself while he's rowing the boat as a kid.
Yeah.
I will avenge you, father. I will save you, mother. I will kill you, Fjolnir. First of all, that should have gone on for 3 times as long.
Oh, I agree.
3 times as long. That's the... Again, with the core. What is the core of this movie?
Dune, Arrakis, desert planet.
Yeah, please tell us. Drill it into us.
Yeah,
so that
absolutely.
you have this lighthouse style, like, rhythm that the plot itself can refer to.
Yeah.
So that shot should have gone on 3 times as long.
Yeah.
Like, that's supposed to be, like, hell. Like, suffering. Like, he is forging his own soul out of pain in front of you on the camera.
Yeah.
Like, make us feel that, please.
Yeah, and the way that his voice would change if that was, like, got to really sit in just him repeating that over and over. That would be really interesting.
And so that's an obvious, like, instrumental phrase of the movie. He wants it to be, like, the holding and dialect. The language is really important to him. As an artist, languages are really important to him, as you saw in The Lighthouse and in The Witch. That's one of his favorite things, is the way people talk.
Yeah.
So he could have had, like, if anything was going to be in their native language, it should have been the oath.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And then you have that shot go on a grindingly hell a long time, and the subtitles are telling you what each syllable means that he's saying.
Yeah.
And then you repeat that phrase, but without the subtitles, maybe.
Yeah, totally.
Later in the movie to reaffirm his purpose.
Yeah.
And now you've installed new words in every audience member.
That is a good idea.
Like, pick your battles. You can't have the whole movie, so, like, but you can teach one little sentence.
Totally. Yeah, that would be really cool.
But that's not... It doesn't... How do I say this? He was not able to make that kind of a correct filmmaking decision because he was not on board with making it in English. That's not something he personally wanted to do with the film. And his film was corrupted. That's what I'm saying. So mistakes got made. And not the good kind of mistakes of, like, I'm learning and this is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's the compromise kind of mistakes.
Sure, yeah.
And then there's this weird distortion of my idea happened at the end where he was blessing his dead mother and his dead brother and getting ready for the final fight in front of the gates of hell, and he's chanting his mantra in the language, and then his last 2 sentences are in English.
Oh, I missed this.
He says 2 unrelated things after his oath in the native language. He says it in English. And it's just this another believability thing. Like, that's not real.
Yeah.
That's not fucking real.
Yeah, that's weird.
And those are just the kind of mistakes that you can't catch because you've lost...
Yeah, you've kind of, like, lost your focus and you're starting to put your hands up.
That's right, yes.
Oh, yeah.
And this is an important issue to me because this was a really good film.
Yeah, and, like, there's some stuff in there that's so good, and it's like all about the ending. Like, so okay, so now my turn. So like I think the moment that is the most disappointing for me is like they're gonna go get on this ship and try to start a new life together, and they're gonna like be together. And I feel like that's pretty classic itself, is like now we have to like go to this other land and start a new life, and that kind of seems like, okay, you're already beginning to lose like your continuity of narrative here. So as soon as that started to happen, I was like, oh, this is fucked. And then but like if they're the new core of the film and they're gonna stick together, like, okay, that works. But they're on the ship, and he like discovers that like she's pregnant with like his baby or babies, and that's a weird part, as you said, because like, I think, is he discovering they're related, or like is he? It's unclear at first. Like,
I thought they were finding out they were brother and sister or something.
Yeah, at first I was unclear about that as well. And she like kind of looks similar to Nicole Kidman, or like, I don't know, for some reason I was expecting there to be some like aha moment there. But yeah, he finds out that she's gonna have his babies, and they're so excited, and his excitement leads him to turn around and jump off the ship and abandon her forever to go kill his uncle. And it's just like the dialogue between them, and she's like, don't go, like, stay with me, what are you doing? And he's like, there's this prophecy that I'm gonna have to choose between kindness for my kin or like hate for my enemies, and I choose both. And he's wrong. He only chooses hate for his enemies. But even like the dialogue there, it just completely falls apart in that scene. Like, it literally falls apart. They like scatter, and the energy for the rest of the movie is like completely scattered. And okay, so what do I wish would happen? I wish they had never gotten on that boat in the first place. That was dumb. Yeah, they should have like been really intense in the forest together until their kids like were a little bit older, and then they like took back the throne. And
I think Beauty and the Beastness is what I'm wanting more from the conclusion of their relationship. She's supposed to be a witch, so use that fucking witchcraft on the person you know best and guide his aggressive impulses towards life. And definitely don't go on the ship, but like go with him to the mountain of hell and like work some crazy fucking magic. And
that's a cool idea.
Make some integration of his hatred happen with his love. And
oh, that's sick. Yeah, that's very cool. I feel like it's making me think of Lady Jessica in Dune with like Duke Leto, and there's like a couple moments, I'm not very deep into it, but there's a couple moments where she's like, she's not gonna like use her power on him, like she's not gonna do any little magic tricks with him. And like there's this kind of basic like respect and belief in like her love's like free will there, and that's, I think, really beautiful, and like that's like the impulse there is really good. But like, what if she hadn't done that? Like,
she might have saved Leto.
Yeah, that's interesting. Definitely liked it. I feel like there's so much that's good about it, and the ending is disappointing enough that it's like, do you recommend someone watch this? Like, I'm not sure. It's a question. It's almost like a music video or something. It's like, there's not like it's just about the vibes. Like, there's not like this like important story that I want someone to know.
Mm-hmm. And making an important story requires what? Some universal message, some statement of what the Norse cultures have that's universal and good and can be abstracted.
Yeah.
I thought the rite of passage thing was of that caliber.
Yeah.
The father passing down to the son and the shaman consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is that, like, being true to history instead of being romantic. Like, it's not like Dead Man. It's like playing out the belief that the violence of this culture makes it irredeemable, and like our fascination with it is like, we're interested in this, but like we shouldn't be, and like,
but
sorry.
But there's nothing to model ourselves on from it.
Right. And
yeah, and that's a shame, because you could have made a movie with this.
I mean, yeah, like,
that
so
showed you things to model your masculinity after.
totally.
Like if he fucking raised his family.
Yeah, that's one. Like,
Oh, what? You're pregnant? swim back to the
so
mainland.
stupid. This is like our past two movie picks. Angel's eggs, who just smash the egg.
Yeah, after that part of this movie, I was like, okay, we need to watch.
James Bond
The man needs to
do something good now.
But I was thinking of Ghost in the Shell, because that's a blurb in the Angel's Egg write-up, is that the man grows, and then the result of the developed, mature animus is Ghost in the Shell, where the ideal union of man and woman causes evolution to turn forward.
Yeah, I told you I was listening to the Vertigo pod again, and your little rant on Animus was so good, and yeah, that could be an interesting one to follow. But for the next movie, it might have to be my pick.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, how many in a row have been mine?
Too many. Yeah, this is the third. But I'm just thinking now, you know, the idea of him raising a family, like, sure, that's cool, but actually, my thought is, like, what's, like, the pivotal moment where everything changes in this movie? It's when he confronts his mother and realizes that, like, everything he believed,
that's right.
You know, that's, like, the moment where everything shatters, you know?
Okay.
And it is, like, his sense of goodness and evil is destroyed. And so what do you do with a situation like that? Like, of course, his love story is going to be tragic now because he hasn't, like, solved that problem. So the new problem that needs to be solved is actually not, like, maybe it's about the anima as well, but it's, like, more a basic, like, shaman's journey now. And, like, he needs to go, like, now become the...
He needs to assemble himself anew.
Yeah,
and
like...
that's, like, a little too late in the running time to handle that. Like,
Sure.
As a shamanic deconstruction goes, that was him becoming a barbarian and raping and pillaging and being the man that never cries.
Yeah.
That was his complete dissolution of his moral structure.
Yeah.
And then, what you thought you were going to see was him building from nothing into a noble king. But yeah, then everything gets shattered over again at this.
Okay, so like in the Willem Dafoe beginning ceremony, Willem Dafoe says like, there's some character names in here, that women have like magic secrets that you can never know. You should leave alone. Something like that. Like there's just like mystery that you must accept, and that's probably true. And also like, yeah, maybe he like his journey with Anya Taylor-Joy is like, he can't just kind of like let her passively allow her to do magic next to him. He needs to like literally learn her kind of magic, to like integrate that into him.
Because his anima image is shattered, and so what do? Well, turn to the anima image that's actually been by your side the whole time.
Yeah.
And more consciously engage with that.
Yeah.
Or abandon it in the ocean to go.
Oh, you're pregnant.
Peace.
That part
By the way,
so embarrassing.
it's not even one kid you're going to be a single mother for. I have the vision now, and you're having 2 kids.
That's so fucked.
Good luck with that.
Her sadness at that moment is like, it's not even like given its full weight. It should be a stormy scene, should be like some, I don't know. It's so dumb. I hate it.
So yeah, that's cool. More consciously grappling, like stopping at that point and writing your plot when the mother is revealed to be totally corrupt and lost, when he thought he was going to rescue her this whole time. Stop and contemplate what that does to the story, and if you even want it to go that way. Things went awry.
Rescuing the father is like the common Jordan Peterson phrase in the kind of Pinocchio story thing, but rescuing the mother is an overlooked.
And he did do that here, but unconsciously.
Yeah.
But in conclusion, better than The Green Knight?
Yes, I think better than The Green Knight.
Better than The Green Knight.
More basically enjoyable.
Yes, made by an actual filmmaker. This was a film you could watch.
I really did enjoy watching it, yeah.